All right, three, two, one. Let's get it. Welcome to another episode. Episodes, actually, plural. I'm going to drop you with something a little bit different. So welcome to another episodes of What's Your Problem? I'm your host, Marsh, and What's Your Problem dives into the three problems, universal problems we all face: adversity, uncertainty, and complacency. And in this podcast, we're developing the skills necessary to cultivate and strengthen these skills so that way you can handle the adversity, embrace the uncertainty, and never settle again. And those skills all start with the letter C, and they're skills that I learned in the sales profession that I've actually applied to my personal life, because I believe sales is a profession, but selling is a universal life skill. So I'm taking those skills, the communication, curiosity, creativity, continuous learning and action, and productive confrontation, handling the conflict. And by listening to this, these are laced with those things, so that way you can get better at it. Good news is you have all of those skills within. So it's not like you have to go somewhere to get them. You got to pay somebody to get it. No, you have to pay attention. That's the only thing you have to pay, is pay attention and see where you're faltering. Maybe it's the communication aspect of it. You're not communicating well with yourself or with others. Maybe it's the creativity side of it, where when you lack the resources, you don't get resourceful. Maybe it's the communication, the curiosity. I went blank. Maybe it's the curiosity side of it, where you're living in statements. You're making a bunch of statements versus being curious, asking questions of others. That goes hand in hand with communication as well, and of yourself. Being a continuous learner. Maybe you've stopped learning and you're a know-it-all and not a know-at-all. There's more out there that you don't know than you do know. Or maybe it's the confrontation. So you're not good at handling conflict. You're not good at confronting not only yourself, but also others as well. So this week, I am proud to bring you 3 episodes. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have part of the frustration that I've had recently is I wish I could get more content out there consistently. I have tons of content, tons of things to share with you. And sometimes I lack the time bandwidth to be able to get that out in a consistent nature. And so I want to do something a little bit different. So on this episode is going to be 3 episodes in one. You get a 3-in-1. So it's 3 different episodes. Initially I'll try to cobble them together where they're relatable. There may be times where one episode doesn't relate to the other one, but it's necessary to bring you the information. It's necessary to share what's on my heart and bring that to you. So this is 3 episodes. They're going to be chapters. And so you'll have 3 chapters so you can dive in. And, if one of them that you're listening to, you don't have to wait until next week till another episode comes out. You can actually skip to the next one. And maybe there's a time where you just weren't in the season, you skipped over it, you could come back and listen to it as well. So you're going to find that the episodes are going to be longer, but they're actually going to be shorter, because I'm going to try to keep these each one in that 10 to 15 minute mark. Sometimes I get on a riff and they go a little bit longer. I try to keep them under 20 because I don't like for them to get too long, because I want to get you in, get you out, and get you on with your life as well. All right? So thanks so much for being a part of the What's Your Problem podcast. Be sure and share this with others. It's your sharing. It's your comments. It's your rating and review. That is the thing that will continue to help grow the show. This is our 6th year doing it. Been doing this since 2017, October of 2017. And I just really feel like that we're just now getting into that groove of starting to make some things happen itself. So it's a long slog in podcasting world. It's not something that I think most people kind of fade out after a few episodes. And actually, I've started, if you search my name in the podcast directory, you'll see I have 2 other podcasts that I created. And I just abandoned them because I was just stretched too thin. But I leave them there because I may do something with them, and the parking spot is reserved, so I can always go back to it, change the name of it, and go with something else. I've even toyed with the idea of taking some snippets from previous episodes and sharing that into quick takes. I think one of the podcasts that I have, it was First Thoughts, but I was like, man, the first thought I should come with would be directly to my listeners that have been loyal to me for so many years. So I kind of backed away from that, but renamed it from First Thoughts to Quick Thoughts, and I've just kind of stalled out right there. But it's there. I'm toying with the idea, but again, man, it just goes with consistency and being able to be consistent in bringing you not only messages, but there's older episodes that a lot of you have not heard. And I think sometimes snipping those down into bite-sized clips would give you something, because the whole episode probably in retrospect was not that good because I was just really getting my chops. In episode 200, it wasn't as good. I like to think that I've gotten better over the years. And so it's not as good, but the information is there. It's worth sharing, but maybe not the full episode itself. So anyway, enough about that tangent. So thank you. So we'll rock out without any further delay. We'll rock out. These are 3 episodes for you. And these go hand in hand. It's about toughness. What is toughness? It's about suffering. And it's also about discovering your purpose. And discovering your purpose was the first one I actually recorded. As I'm recording this right here, I'll have 2 new episodes that really I just wrote this morning, and I'll be sharing those with you. The purpose part of it, which would be right in the middle, is one that I recorded a couple of weeks ago and just never have shared with you. But I think it really fits nicely with this collection of podcast episodes. So with that, keep it simple, man. Keep it moving. Let's grow together. Let's rock out with today's episode. Peace. As told in Steve Mangnuss's book, Do Hard Things, and this is a book, man, I bought, I don't know, probably a couple years ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and in my random reading, I kept looking at it, finally pulled it off the shelf and said, let me dive into this book. And the very last chapter was just really profound. Sometimes I'll skip different chapters. I went to the last chapter and read that, and it's something I would just really, really want to share with you today. So he paraphrases Viktor Frankl, and those of you who know Viktor Frankl or don't know, it's Man's Search for Meaning. He survived the atrocity of the concentration camp. His whole family and wife was wiped out, and he made it, and he devoted his life into helping others find purpose in their suffering. And Mangnuss relates to it. He said that the way to discover true fulfillment in your life, not happiness, because happiness is fleeting, but true fulfillment in your life, there's 3 things that you need, says Frankl. The first one is creating. It's the act of doing something, whether it's an artistic pursuit or it's a labor of love. The second thing you need to find fulfillment in life is the experiential factor. You got to experience something. This is where it's the wonder and the awe. And you find things that are just fascinating, and you're there looking at nature and looking at whether it be artistic things or just the beauty of it all, man. I was walking the other night and really just trying to get it out of the way, walking the dogs, and I just stopped and looked up at the sky, man. All the stars were out. It was cool, and I just soaked it in. I was like, how many clear, beautiful evenings have I just bypassed because I was just trying to get it in? So it's the experiential factor, and then the last part, which will probably shock most people, the key to fulfillment is suffering. Suffering. Suffering creates meaning. And the meaning creates the freedom to choose. And in reading Man's Search for Meaning, I was really like, who chooses? I don't really understand how you choose. Oh, yeah, he's in the worst possible situation. Concentration camp, basically naked, starving, family gone. I'm a choose. But as I've gotten older and have really digested this and really sharing this, the choosing creates the freedom, and it's finding the meaning out of the suffering. Mangnuss writes, it's coming to terms with who you are and what you face, and you try to make sense of it all. And you find meaning in the struggle. This means instead of avoiding suffering, the struggle, you have to explore it. And there's a profound quote that he makes in this last chapter, Mangnuss does. Mangnuss writes, he says, when we explore instead of avoid struggle, suffering, we're able to integrate experience into our story. And we're able to make meaning out of the struggle and out of the suffering. Meaning is the glue that holds your mind together, allowing you to both respond and recover. And it stalls the jump from difficulty to complete despair, from fear and anxiety to a full-blown freak out. And to find that fulfillment, to find the meaning in your suffering, you have to experience it. And you have to change your hat from a threat to more of an exploration. And that's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? I mean, when you think of the word struggle, you think of avoidance. I don't want to face that. I want to put myself in that situation. But sometimes, man, it just happens. Sometimes it's created. Sometimes it's a culmination of creation, and you just get to this point, and you find yourself struggling. But out of the struggle, and as you experience it and you explore it, you discover a creative outlet, whether it be something artistic or labor of love. You find a creative outlet, and this is what develops meaning. This is what develops that glue that holds you together in life, that holds you at your toughest times in life. Because it's in the struggle, in the experiencing, in exploring, and you stay with it, and you develop a creative outlet to it. This is your freedom to choose, to embrace the uncertainty. I don't avoid it. To handle the adversity. I don't hide from it. And you refuse to settle. That's the 3 tenets of why I create my podcast. To embrace uncertainty, handle the adversity, and never settle again. So every day, man, you got to set out in exploration. And you don't avoid suffering, yet you don't create the suffering either. See, it's not, you don't bring it upon yourself, if at all possible. Sometimes through confrontation, you got to finally turn and face it. So you don't purposefully create the suffering, Because suffering will find you. And when it does, man, there are going to be days it's super heavy. And there are going to be days where you have just enough strength to get through the day. I mean, like spitting and sputtering to find your bed. And there are going to be other days, man, where you're gliding, where it seems like that you've just really turned the corner. And you hope that you've turned the corner. But then you find when you've turned that corner, it's a new block of issues and circumstances and challenges. And you're like, fuck. But you stay with it. You stay in the struggle. And as I was writing this, man, it made me think back to 2017 when I started the podcast. 2016, 17. 17 is when I kicked off the podcast. But that was a tough time, man. I was dark. I was demoted. I was broke. I was lonely. And the loneliness is what created the suicidal thoughts. The toughest thing, man, was not the demotion. You know what the toughest thing was? Was to come home to an empty apartment. I didn't hear, the kids weren't screaming my name anymore. Daddy's home. They'd come and run and hug me and tell me about their day. Me and their mom were going through a divorce, contentious divorce. It was tough. They weren't there. And I just found myself lost. I didn't have meaning in life. I was demoted. I had no purpose, it seemed. That's when you start to lose your grip on life. I had no glue and almost checked out. Very close to checking out. And I never thought of myself as a suicidal person at all. And it wasn't that I was going to personally do it. I just hoped something would happen and just stop the pain, you know. So it was during this time that I had no choice but to face my struggle, to face my suffering. It was literally life or death. I could avoid it, and ultimately I wouldn't be here today. Or I could take it on, and ultimately that's why I'm here today, is because I took it on. And my life's mission now is to share that no matter what situation you're going through, man, you got to find meaning out of it. You're going to get through it. And so I found a creative outlet, which for me was communication. Being able to get on a mic and share my thoughts. It became my artistic output, my outlet. And communicating that not only helped me get the venom out, but also it helped me sculpt meaning out of the suffering. And in sculpting that, I'm actually contributing for the greater good of life, for other people too. Because it helped me realize I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who has gone through something like this. Your situation may feel like the worst. It's because it's yours. But when others talk to you about their struggles, and then you always trump it with, well, you think that's bad. Let me tell you something bad. You mean well. You're trying to put it in perspective for them, but it's their suffering, and they got to find the meaning, just like you did. You can only share that on the backside of it. That's what it was for me. And the way I look at things, man, if I'm going to go through something, I might as well grow through it. I might as well get something out of it. So I want to end every episode. Sometimes they're going to be actionable advice, and sometimes it's going to be called, What's Your Point? And it's the point of this podcast. the point of this episode. And so the point is you're never going to find fulfillment in life without suffering. I hate to say it. You can't surfboard through life. It's not always going to be great waves. You're going to fall off that board. That wave's going to feel like that you're going to drown. It's going to take you under. But you got to find meaning out of these things. Don't avoid it. You stay with it. You stay in the struggle. Because fulfillment in the struggle, it's the only path. You explore moving forward. And some days you're going to move forward. And other days you're going to take 9 miles back. You're still moving forward. It's just life resetting you. Sometimes it's helping you and you don't even realize it. You may never realize it. It's what the Stoics do. They just accept it and they keep moving forward. I will tell you this. In the suffering, you will make it. You will. As long as you explore and you keep an exploratory mind and you don't avoid. It's only those who avoid. Those are the ones who don't make it. Because they never discovered any meaning. They always tried to find a destructive outlet instead of a creative outlet. So wherever you find yourself in life, you may be riding high right now. Suffering's coming. Don't avoid it. If you're struggling right now, get something from it. Your pain or your purpose is in your pain. Your platform comes from your pain. That's what my platform is today. Everything that I've gone through. That's how I discovered communication, curiosity, creativity, continuous learning and action, productive confrontation. I didn't come out with those bullet points. I earned them. I didn't come up with the embrace uncertainty, handle the adversity, and never settle again. Those were the 3 things that were causing my demise. The uncertainty, faded, got away from it. The adversity, total avoidance, and settling. It's a sneaky monoxide kind of gas. It just settles on you and you just lull yourself to sleep. And you turn to other vices, other destructive habits. And I'm glad that I can share with you today that I found the meaning. And you will too. So keep your mind and your body open today. Just explore. When you find the fear and anxiety creeping up on you, when you feel like you're just going to lose your shit, man, when you're in despair and hopelessness, stay in the pocket. Stay in there. You're creating glue. It's going to keep your mind together. It's going to keep your body together. You're going to find solutions. And you're going to discover ultimate meaning. And through that, you'll be able to teach not only yourself, but also you'll be able to teach others what you learn through doing.